Good morning, live stream viewers. We're going to get going on Civic Media Mornings in about 30 seconds here.
And discover exciting reading activities for school and home. Visit rallytoread.org today.
Rally to read!
15 seconds.
It's 6:06 right now. Thank you so much for joining us this morning on the Civic Media Radio Network. You're listening to Civic Media Mornings. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. Good morning. Welcome. Another cold day across the network. So bundle up if you are going outside. It is January after all, and it is Wisconsin. So -5 in Madison. That's the way to go. But if you
Or just don't go outside. Just stay inside. That might be better.
It's my wife decided it was another work from home day today.
She is a smart lady.
Yes,
Smart lady.
I think so too. So she decided not to do this. We got a lot to cover this morning, as we always do. We're going to learn what a trade bazooka is. We're going to talk about partial vetoes. We're going to talk about the administration in Davos and the letter that the president wrote to the people of Denmark, and it's another day in paradise, Jamie. This is very exciting.
These things are fine. Everything is fine.
Is it? Is it? All right. Was it Henny Penny that thought everything was wonderful, or Chicken Little? No, Chicken Little was the sky is falling.
Sky is falling. I'm more Chicken Little at this point, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Well, you know.
Yeah, the president's in Davos talking to all his millionaires about millionaire things and billionaires, and putting together his axis of evil, his Legion of Doom with his Board of Peace. So it's
so far I don't see anybody who actually wants peace on the board.
No, the Board of Peace is if you got $1 billion, pony up. You'll get on the board, the most consequential board ever in the history of the world, according to the president. That's a quote. And so far, Putin has joined. Mm-hmm. And a number of other dictators and strongmen and leaders that, again, not synonymous with peace.
Yes,
but that's what's happening. That's what's happening.
Roger from Stevens Point already chiming in this morning. If you were able to listen to the show yesterday, we had a few technical glitches, and he says, I'm out of the dungeon today. Yes, I am. I'm back in the regular studio. Thank you to our tech crew and our boy Aquarium for making that happen after the show yesterday. Yes. But I think we need to dive into this Greenland conversation, right?
Can I ask you a question? When this all started, did you think this was just another troll?
Yes.
By Donald Trump, that this whole thing about Greenland, and now it's obviously not, and the way that he's obsessed with the Peace Prize and how that is coming into play is nuts. But yeah, things are getting serious in Greenland.
Yeah, and there's also tension now escalating with our European allies because they no longer feel an obligation and to Trump, and Trump doesn't feel an obligation to think purely of peace, according to the letter that he wrote to the Norwegian Prime Minister. And obviously, it's all linked to the fact that he did not win the Nobel Peace Prize. Now, Norway's prime minister actually had to confirm the message, and he says that it did come directly from the president. And he also stressed that I love that they actually had to stress how Norway chooses the Nobel Peace Prize, saying that it's not actually chosen by the Norwegian government. It is chosen by an independent committee. Now, I also loved that Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent had to later walk back the remarks, even though they're actually on paper.
Yeah, they're on paper, and the president wanted it distributed to everybody. And the first line of this thing is crazy. Considering your country decided not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize for having stopped 8 wars plus, all in capitals, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace, although it will always be predominant. but can now think about what is good and proper for the United States of America.
Okay.
Really? You let
Yeah.
this is from the president of the United States to another country's leader, and then going on with just the Denmark. How could Denmark cannot? This is I'm reading from his thing. Denmark cannot protect the land from Russia or China. Why do they have, quote, right of ownership anyway? There are no written documents. Yes, technically there are a lot of written documents about Norway. lots and lots of. There are no written documents. It's only that a boat landed there hundreds of years ago, but we had boats landing there also. No, hundreds of years ago we didn't.
No.
So, okay.
History is important to learn, boys and girls. I'm just throwing that out there for anybody who is a little, trepidatious of learning the history. It's important to learn. There's
Or
reasons for it.
Listen, if you don't want to learn history, just shut up about it then. Then,
Right.
If you don't want to know it, you're not an expert. And that's on you. That's okay. But
Yes.
don't pass yourself off.
I in between all of this, though, right, is this threat now of imposing tariffs on
Yes.
European countries and allies unless they cooperate with this push for the U.S. to take over Greenland. And, you mentioned he is 100% committed to following through on all of this. And he makes that pretty clear in this letter that he sent to the Norwegian Prime Minister. European leaders are now pushing back, though, pretty forcefully, with Germany and France saying they will not be blackmailed by any sort of ally. The European Union is now weighing retaliation, including tariffs and even activating this is what we'll get into in a little bit here, the anti-coercion instrument known as the trade bazooka, which does not sound like something I want implemented. A trade bazooka, right? Which
Unless
got me
it's
in a
me
rabbit
with some
hole
bubble
yesterday.
gum on the playground when I'm 7. Then I'll trade some bazooka with you.
Right.
Oh, what do you got? Juicy fruit? Here's some bazooka.
Right.
We'll do that. But no, this is thankfully, I guess, and terrifyingly, our allies for now in Europe are taking this deadly
Yes.
seriously, and they are preparing contingency plans and what they'll have to do.
And I think they have to, because yesterday,
course.
when asked whether or not he would rule out military force to seize Greenland, President Trump said no comment. So I think you do have to take it seriously, because he's obviously talking to his administration. They're obviously weighing some options. And we've seen there were photos that were released last night. The Danish army is sending in more troops because they are trying to prepare for a potential ally invasion.
So
I'm
are
not
other
really sure.
allies. They're sending more
Yes.
troops over just to bolster it up. And I think every time we talk about Greenland, I think it's important to remind people because most of us have never thought about Greenland. We see it on the map. We know where it is. We know what Greenland is. But it's always just been there chilling. The United States has a very large military base on Greenland.
Yes.
Greenland has given us permission, and this has always been the case, to expand that base if needed. Greenland has also said that in times of crisis, they would work out deals if we need some of the resources that Greenland has. If it came to a point where we needed them, they would be fair with us and help us out. Greenland has always been a wonderful neighbor. So it's always just, I think, important to remind people that the people who hear the headlines, national security in Russia and China. And yesterday, China said, hey, stop using us as
we don't want to be part of this.
Yeah, we're not trying to take Greenland. Chill out. In so many words.
For now, for this moment in time, Europe is urging a de-escalation of rhetoric, of actions, of the tariffs, because that's not good for anybody.
Yeah.
But they're also preparing for a diplomatic as well as economic retaliation if this pressure from the U.S. continues. Now, it was interesting because we mentioned this trade bazooka, right? And I had never heard this term before.
Nor
I've
had
heard
I.
a lot of terms, and I had to dig into this a little bit because
That must have made you extremely happy.
Oh, you have
to
no idea. You have no idea when I find a term
Research
that I
Jamie
don't know.
was ready to go.
I was so excited. I spent hours in diving into this last night, literally, because, again, nerdy like that. But European leaders are weighing the use of this anti-coercion instrument. And a lot of times it's called a trade bazooka. And obviously, after the president threatened tariffs on European allies, this is becoming a real possibility.
Yeah.
It was adopted in 2023 with China in mind, and it's designed to really respond when a country tries to pressure the EU or any of its members through trade or investment threats. Now, the president said he will impose 10% tariffs starting February 1st on goods from 8 different European countries opposing U.S. efforts to take over Greenland. And he was warning that those tariffs can jump to maybe 25% by June 1st if they don't reach any sort of deal. So if invoked, this anti-coercion instrument would allow the EU to retaliate by restricting access to European markets, essentially limiting any sort of U.S. investment and targeting American firms that have government contracts. They could also impose export controls or take action in our financial markets, which would obviously hit U.S. tech companies, finance companies, and service companies across the spectrum as well. Now, this process isn't immediate. In fact, the European Commission would first need to determine that economic coercion exists, and then member states would have up to 10 weeks to approve any sort of action while diplomats attempt all of the de-escalation methods.
That seems pretty clear cut
Yes.
at this point.
Yes, absolutely. Now, again, 2023 is when this was implemented. It has never been used, though. The anti-coercion instrument, the trade bazooka. Trade bazooka is kind of fun to say.
Fun. Yeah,
it's fun to
let's
say.
go with
yeah.
trade bazooka.
Yes, and obviously, if they activate this, it would mark major escalation in any sort of trade retaliations. And you've got to expect if we're at that point, then we're probably looking at maybe some other retaliation in other ways if we're looking at potentially implementing this.
And you mentioned
EU is.
You mentioned it's never been used before because we've never been in a situation before where a sitting U.S. president has decided to start a trade war with our allies. That's the key component here. These are countries that that we've been in partnership with for years and years, and we're in uncharted territory in so many ways. But for all the companies and all the people who aren't sure and are sure that other countries are paying the bills for all this shenanigans economically, they're not. We are, and it's going to get even worse.
Scott over on our text line chiming in this morning saying it's become crystal clear that the rich in this country no longer need our economy to survive. Their wealth is so vast they can survive for years. Hopefully the right wakes up at some point. Thank you so much for the text this morning, Scott. And if you want to chime in, we would love for you to do so. All you have to do is text or call us at 1-855-752-4842. That is 1-855-75-CIVIC. Now, Brian, you blipped off there for a minute. There you are.
I had enough, Jamie. I was
more trade bazooka for you.
I had a profanity bazooka that I needed to unload, and so I was aiming it at 1600 because I don't blame the EU at all. This is what they have to do, and in pure European fashion, let's exercise some restraint first.
Yes,
until
absolutely.
You hear Don Trump-Leon say it's going to be very interesting in Davos. We'll see what happens in Davos.
Yes, we will see what happens in Davos. I'm sure the news will continue throughout the day, and we'll be happy to talk about that tomorrow. In the meantime, free speech in Muskego. It's being questioned. We're talking about it in Muskego. We're going to talk about that when we come back. It is 6:19 right now. You are listening to Civic Media Mornings. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan, and this is the Civic Media Radio Network.
4 locations, that's a high level of convenience.
With 3 Madison locations and now Sun Prairie, a great cannabis experience is always close by. Our expert staff is here to help, whether you walk in, call, or order online. Mention Radio 420 and get a special discount. So stop by Herbal Aspect in Sun Prairie, because great cannabis isn't just a pipe dream.
Nice. I'm rolling over now.
Herbal Aspect.
This is Chad Spade. Are you thinking about improving your home? At Chad's Design Build, we're proud to offer remodeling done well with love. And our commitments to you and your home convey that love and spell our name. The Chad's experience is structured to provide excellent communication, honesty, accuracy, detailed proposals, and satisfied customers. We're also committed to making your home comfortable, healthy, attractive, durable, and sustainable. If you want a quality remodel and a quality remodeling experience, go to chadsdesignbuild.com to learn more.
You can support animals in need in our community when you shop at Dane County Humane Society's thrift stores. Thrift Store West on Watts Road and Thrift Store East on High Crossing Boulevard. Shop gently used and new clothing and accessories, home goods, toys, furniture, and a whole lot more. All proceeds from the Dane County Humane Society's thrift stores support the comfort and care of animals in need across the county. Visit giveshelter.org/thrift for more information.
Oh, this is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio. On our show, we share stories from Turtle Island highlighting the people and issues shaping our communities. From protecting water to treaty rights and preserving languages and traditions, we cover it all. Hear voices like Arvina Martin of Emerge, Wisconsin, Dr. Stately, Robert Lilligren, and more. Because Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
Native Roots Radio, weeknights at 8 on your local Civic Media radio station.
We've all felt left out. And for people who move to this country, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that.
Yeah, 15 seconds till we're back.
It's 6:22 right now. We hope you are having a great start to your morning listening to the Civic Media Radio Network. If you are in Oshkosh and Appleton listening on WISS, or maybe in Richland Center on WRCE, thank you so much for joining us. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. Good morning. Glad you're here. We talk about free speech all the time. And reminder, free speech, the Second Amendment, or the First Amendment, rather, is that it doesn't mean that you have no consequences. It means the government cannot stifle your speech. So people forget that. And that's we talk about civics lessons here. That's one I hammer home all the time, because don't I have free speech? Yeah, you do have free speech, but your boss also has a right to fire you if you start mouthing off. You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. There's limits on speech. You can stand on a corner and yell and scream, but if you cross the line, then there are problems. Now, this is another example of also reading past the headlines, because when I first saw this story, I read the headline and I'm like, what a jerk this guy is. And then because like a lot of people, you read the headline, you jump to a conclusion. Then be like Brian and read the story. Do yourself a favor, because
Lesson of the day.
Lesson of the day, read. And then you get all the information, and then you go, all right, I see the point. I see where this is a thing. And Jamie, the fight has come in chalk, and it has come to Muskego.
It has. And the gentleman that we're talking about, his name is Jim Brownlow, and he is representing himself at his upcoming trial in Muskego Municipal Court. The charge is disorderly conduct after he wrote Jan 6 on the sidewalk outside of the Muskego post office in chalk. Now, he wrote this message last January, so in 2025, and we're still talking about this, of course, in reference to what happened at the Capitol in 2021. He was arrested a few weeks later at his house. He was handcuffed and cited with criminal damage to property, and then that was later amended to disorderly conduct. Well, a municipal citation of disorderly conduct is considered some sort of violation, not a criminal charge. And so if convicted, he would face a fine of up to $565. Now, the case represents some larger concerns about the protection of speech.
To him, this is his platform.
That's right. He is a librarian, and his work focuses on learning from history and passing those lessons on. It's like we just talked about that if you were joining us a few minutes ago.
Weird.
He said he wrote the message as a reminder that the Capitol attack should not be forgotten. Now, a municipal court, though, is still awaiting a final decision in the case.
Come on, folks.
What is happening in Muskego that they don't have enough time to do this?
Well, maybe that's it. Maybe it's not that they don't have enough time. They have too much time.
Maybe.
And they're delving in. And maybe Mr. Brownlow is pushing. He won't take a plea. He's just this is his thing.
Yeah. And in fact, they expected this to all wrap up at a hearing that was scheduled on January 14th. But instead, the Muskego Municipal Court judge asked both sides to submit more information to help clarify some of the legal cases mentioned in Brownlow's motion to dismiss. And that paperwork is due tomorrow.
Okay. Well, that's good. And then the judge is going to take another up to 30 days.
Yes.
To make the decision. And I like, you could tell this guy seems like you and he would be research soulmates because he has put together a defense citing a number of cases, one from Wisconsin, and it's amazing. And I'll let you tell about the cases because this, again, you're the trade bazooka researcher.
I
would
love
have spent
this stuff.
Yeah, you two would have spent hours with this guy in the library, even though you're not attorneys, coming up with.
This is how we complicate our own lives right here. So the cases that Brownlow is citing include Tinker versus Des Moines. That is a 1969 Supreme Court case that found speech cannot be restricted unless it substantially disrupts the rights of others. And also the city of Oak Creek, which I believe is the one you were referring to, the case you were referring to. It was a 1989 Wisconsin Supreme Court case that held that the peaceful expression of views cannot be criminalized. Now, here's the thing, right? This is obviously, we're joking about it to some extent, but at the same time, as you mentioned, this centers on the First Amendment, and it was designed to protect unpopular or uncomfortable expression, not just speech that people agree with, and we're talking chalk on a sidewalk here.
Right, and I thought he was supporting January 6th.
Right.
He claims, no, I wrote this because I want people to never forget what happened on January 6th. So that's important. Not important in the facts. The facts are the facts. He wrote it on the sidewalk. These are the laws, blah, blah, blah. It's important when you start to formulate where you fall on the side of this story, there's people who's going to think, well, he's a proponent of January 6th. He must be guilty. Or now that you've heard, oh, wait, no, he wants it to be remembered as the tragedy and horror it was. Oh, okay, now I feel different. So got to get everything out there to let you make your informed decision.
I mean, perhaps I wouldn't have chose, I get probably why the statement, but I probably would not have chosen a sidewalk in front of a federal building. I maybe would have chosen something.
Well,
perhaps.
why the post office and not the courthouse?
Well, it's Muskego. I can tell you, in a small town, everybody goes through that post office.
Well, yeah, okay, fair enough. That's a good point. This is where this is the amount that they're saying of damage, alleged damage.
It's chalk.
Yes,
Chalk.
The property owner says
Muskego Partners LLC, by the way.
$900 in expenses. $900. I taught elementary school where the kids would write in chalk out on the playground, and it was gone the next day for free.
Hose. Get a hose.
Get a hose. $300 they say for sidewalk cleaning. I got to get that job.
$600 for administrative fees. So there you go. So we'll see how this plays out, but don't hold your breath. It might be a while. Coming up, Wisconsin has a surplus of money, and we're going to talk about that. That's right.
What are
it
we
is
going to do?
6:29. I don't know yet, but Evers has a plan. 6:29, Civic Media Mornings. I am Jamie Martinson.
I'm Brian Noonan. It's the Civic Media Radio Network.
Where conversations are free-range and organic. Your neighbors are talking. Leaders are deciding. Madison's story unfolds daily on 92.7 WMDX.
Canada is forging a new strategic partnership with China, and some of it involves agriculture. I'm PM Yankee, starting you off before the opening bell on a Tuesday morning. Quick look at the agribusiness news influencing your markets today. The framework is about more than just vehicles. In fact, it does involve some lower tariffs on Canadian canola seed and meal from 84% to an average of 15% tariff. That should take place by March 1st. Under the agreement, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney sees great things ahead for the two.
This is enormous progress. Starting from March 1st, we fully expect canola tariffs to drop from 85% to approximately 15%. And that's going to create an opportunity combined between meal and seed, a $7 billion market opportunity. A new era, whether it's in canola, other grains, pulses, lobster, beef, pork. It's a return to Canada as an important agriculture partner with China.
That's Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney. Now, this is a give-and-take situation. While those agricultural goods may go into China at a lower tariff, Canada has agreed to accept Chinese electric vehicles in the first year to a market cap equaling 3% of Canada's new car market with a 6% tariff. Markets and overnight electronic trade after the three-day weekend, a little bit soft. Numbers are next.
It's time to improve your crops and your bottom line. TH Agrochemicals is an independently owned ag chemical company that has been working with growers for over 4 decades. They offer a large line of generic chemicals that can help you save money. They work with row crops and specialty crops like potatoes, apples, cranberries, and more. Call the experienced sales team for recommendations or visit TH Ag at the Corn Soy Expo, booth 402 at the Kalahari and Wisconsin Dells.
Innovation, that's BioVet.
We know you work hard every day to keep your livestock healthy and run an efficient operation because there's no such thing as a snow day. Take time this winter and consider BioVet, your trusted partner in helping you raise stronger, healthier animals and to protect your bottom line. The knowledge and support from our team can help you make the difference in keeping your livestock healthy. Call 1-800-BioVet1 or visit bio-vet.com.
Innovation, that's BioVet.
Markets showing a little tension this morning over Greenland and tariff threats. That involves our commodities. Right now, we've got March corn down 2 at $4.23. December new crop down a penny, $4.49. March soybeans currently down 3 at $10.55. November beans down 2.5 at $10.66. March wheat down 3 at $5.14. July new crop down 3 at $5.38. February class 3 milk that goes into cheese 4 cents lower right now at $15.03 a hundredweight. So just a quick snapshot of where the numbers stand on an early Tuesday morning. I'm PM Yankee.
Local news, real voices, and conversations that count. That's Madison. And that's 92.7 WMDX.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. A partly cloudy sky tonight, low close to 5 below. Wind chill to 15 below. For tomorrow, increasing clouds, a high in the mid-teens. Some snow showers tomorrow night and Wednesday. Accumulations of around an inch or two. High temps of 20 to 25. Right now, it's 5 below.
A fresh perspective on the great outdoors.
What's up, everybody? This is Raised in the Woods with me, Joel Clayfish. This show is about everything you can do in the waters, in the woods, in the outdoors of the great Midwest. And of course, we have a cooking segment every week. This is Raised in the Woods.
Raised in the Woods with Joel Clayfish and Ellie Lawton. Find the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Where working people come to talk. It's The Rick Smith Show, weeknights at 9 on the Civic Media Radio Network. Join me for an honest approach to the issues American working families care about. No talking points, no focus groups. Get ready for a heavy dose of democracy, fairness, grit, and no apologies. It's current affairs from a working class labor perspective. Facts are center, science is real, and everyone gets a seat at the table. The Rick Smith Show, weeknights at 9 on
We'll be back in 15 seconds.
6:35 right now. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it on the Civic Media Radio Network. You're listening to Civic Media Mornings. I'm Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. Good morning. We're glad you're here. Imagine when you're doing your bills at the end of the month and you've paid everything. And now, hey, look, we've got money left over. We've got a surplus this month. Very, very exciting. Now, imagine that at the end of the year. Now, imagine you're Wisconsin and the budget comes out. And for the last couple years, you end up with not a couple $100, not a couple $1,000,000. You've got a $2.5 billion surplus in Wisconsin. And Jamie, what are we going to do? Because we only thought we were going to have about $1 billion surplus. Now we've got $2.5 billion.
Yeah, and it's largely thanks to stronger than forecast income and corporate tax collections, fueled by stock markets and steady economic growth. At least that's all the big words that the state fiscal analysts throw out there. But Governor Tony Evers sees this as an opportunity now, and he is urging lawmakers throughout the state to use this extra revenue for $1.3 billion in property tax relief. And we're going to actually talk more about that after 7 o'clock this morning. He wants to revisit some priorities that Republicans rejected in the last budget, including things like school funding, some healthcare affordability, and tax relief for everyday expenses. And of course, with Evers not seeking re-election, he's signaling that this is the time to get a lot of his major initiatives done. Yeah, and Republicans...
And we got the money to do it.
That's right. And Republican leaders, though, as you can imagine, especially on the Joint Finance Committee, the co-chairs over there, Representative Mark Bourne and Senator Howard Markline, they're not in a spending mood. Let's just put it like that. They're saying that a lot of this surplus comes from one-time revenue, and they're also warning that locking the state into ongoing spending commitments is not good practice and not good for business. They're also pointing to a lot of big uncertainties ahead, including a projected Medicaid shortfall and pending federal decisions that could cost Wisconsin hundreds of millions of dollars. So let me ask you, $2.5 billion burning a hole in the pocket of Tony Evers. Do we spend it in this state, or what do you think, Brian? Do you think we hold on to it?
Well, I will give you my answer once I tell people how they can give us their answer. 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. Yes, what do you think Wisconsin should do with this money? To answer your question, Jamie, there's two ways to look at it, and I've tried to do both. And I think this may shock people, but I'm going to come down on the side of using caution, like the Joint Finance Committee says. Your point about ongoing spending and their point about ongoing spending is great. I know what it feels like to money found or money won is twice as sweet as money earned. So Tony Evers is ready to make his mark and spend all this. If it was a one-time program that he has been fighting for years, then I would say, okay, You've got it. You can spend it the one time, and we still have money in surplus. That's okay. I'm a guy who looks at potential downfalls and looks ahead at things and says, all right, just like I would do at home, and just like most of you would do at home, you have all this extra money, spend a little, save the rest. Mm-hmm. And I think the state would be wise to do that because, as we've seen, and you and I talked about this before, with the current administration, if Wisconsin does anything to upset the emperor, all of a sudden any funding can be cut. And it'd be nice for Wisconsin to be in a position to say, okay, it's going to hurt for a little bit, but we've got some cash saved up, and we're going to take care of business this way. So I would tend to go with the Joint Finance Committee and use caution when spending this.
Yeah, yes. And I know for some people listening, it's hard to believe that we might agree with our Republican representatives, but I can see two things and know that some things are true.
Yes.
Alicia chiming in over on our social media post this morning saying, Wisconsin isn't paying all of our bills. We're still delinquent in taking care of our our counties, municipalities, as well as our school districts.
Right.
So something else to look towards if you're probably the Joint Finance Committee. But I actually agree with you as well. I think that if we have the surplus of money, we should probably prepare for things that may be on the horizon. We don't know what the budget or funding is going to look like at a federal level. Later this year. We don't know what it's going to look like in the next few years. And this is money that could help things like Medicare, Medicaid. It could help with our SNAP benefits or food share, as we call it in the state of Wisconsin. This could help with property taxes, school funding, all of this, because again, we just don't know what that's going to look like down the road from the federal government and what help we're going to be able to get. Now,
and if people, you have to look, there's always the possibility that companies that you collected all this tax from move. People don't want to pay higher property taxes, they move. Then all this money you've collected dries up. Then what are you going to do? If you've signed yourself on to a recurring bill, you gotta pay somehow.
Yeah. And I think I applaud Tony Evers. He deemed last year the year of the kid. He was very ambitious in what he wanted to do. And so some of those initiatives are things that the Republicans rejected pretty mightily in the budget or didn't give quite enough to.
Right.
And so some of the money, some of this extra money, some of the surplus that he would like to spend would be on special education reimbursements, exempting personal care items from sales tax, funding veterans housing facilities. We actually lost 2 of those in this state, in the Green Bay area this year, in the Chippewa Valley. He would also like to boost agricultural exports. We know that this has been a rough year for the farming community. He would also like healthcare reforms put into place, like auditing insurers, capping insulin costs, expanding access to cheaper prescription drugs, as well as addressing any surprise billing that we sometimes get from our medical providers. And, again, the Joint Finance Committee is saying, whoa. We don't want to get too crazy here. But I do side with them. I understand.
Yeah, well, they're pointing out that they're projecting a $213.2 million Medicaid shortfall by the end of the biennium. There's a potential loss of $792 million in state funds if federal regulators reject Wisconsin's hospital assessment. And they're just saying, no, the $2.5 billion surplus could change depending on all of those things. And as we both mentioned, all the federal decisions that could come. So fiscal caution is not a bad thing. I don't disagree with any of the programs that Tony Evers prioritized in his plan to use this money. Yes, all of these need to be taken care of, but finding $100 in your pocket doesn't mean you can fix everything in your house.
Right.
And having this extra money doesn't mean you can fix everything in the state.
And don't you think part of this is, as we all know, Tony Evers last year in office, don't you think part of this is probably wanting to leave that legacy as the governor of Wisconsin, to get some of these programs implemented where he can say, yes, I was able to achieve that. I was able to work across the aisle. I was able to get those things implemented for our families, for our kids, whatever the case may be. And I don't want to say there's ego involved, because I've never known Tony Evers to have any sort of ego whatsoever, but I think that is some sort of legacy that as a governor of this state in 2 terms, you probably want to leave behind.
You want to leave a nice legacy.
Yeah, and I don't blame him for that. Mark from Prairie du Sac chiming in on our text line this morning saying Republican representatives would rather cut out essential services like SNAP than have the state pay more from state funds for the needy. That's a hard one, because I don't disagree because of previous actions from our state electeds. But at the same time, I really feel like this is them looking at this with a fiscally minded eye. And I'm not saying that they should just stash all this money away. But I think you need to be responsible in how you allocate it, where it goes, and what programs you feel like are going to need the most help, while still keeping in mind that federal funding, because again, we're going to probably say this a lot, federal funding is probably not going to be something that most states, red, blue, purple, whatever, are going to see a lot of help from this particular administration.
And you have to look. There's going to have to be some compromise because some of these programs do have to get a little more money. If this, what we already know, the SNAP benefits are being cut. People need to eat, and if you're the governor of the state, that's your job, is to make sure your people are safe and healthy. So there's going to have to be some wiggle room there between Governor Evers and the Assembly. And yes, you gotta kids have to have breakfast and lunch at school. And I know that's oh man, people don't like to hear that. But if every piece of evidence and science backs that up, every teacher, every educator you talk to backs that up, that has to be taken care of. We're losing rural health care in this state at an alarming rate. There has to be something done to take care of that. I don't think you take this $2.5 billion and put it all on the line. You can't. That's not responsible. And yes, your point that Governor Evers may want to leave a legacy, that's well made, and it's probably true. But if the legacy is I took a state that was solvent and had a surplus, and then I put everything into different programs, and while they're worthwhile programs and impactful programs, now I left the state in the lurch because all of a sudden we don't have the same income, and we're in trouble.
If you want to chime in this morning, you can do so by calling or texting at 1-855-752-4842. That's 1-855-75-CIVIC. I also think this is a conversation that we're going to hear over and over as we get into the political cycle again of midterms. In fact, later this week, there is going to be a Democratic gubernatorial candidate debate, and you can probably bet that there is going to be a question or two that is brought up about the surplus and how other Democrats would use this money or what they would be willing to do with it, or if they'd be willing to come to some sort of compromise with the Republicans, and whether they want to store some of this, whether they want to put it towards certain programs. So you can bet that the words $2.5 billion surplus are not going away anytime soon in the great state of Wisconsin.
I wish I had that argument at home. I wish we had a big surplus at home that we had to deal with. What would you do? What would you do if you had a giant surplus? All of a sudden, you were like, somehow you found all this money, and you were like, "Wow, where'd this come from?" All right.
What I would do with it, honestly, is probably what everybody else would want to do. I'd pay off the things that need to be paid off, and then I am very responsible. We might have a little bit of fun with it, but I think then we'd probably save it, right? Because we have young kids who are trying to make their way in life too, and they're going to need some help. I know we're running out of time, but
same kind of thing. I would pay it off. I would make sure that we were set, and I would make sure my daughter and future son-in-law were set. And then I'd have more than a little fun. I'd have a mediocre amount of fun. I'd have more fun than the average person.
Depends
has
on
fun.
how big my surplus is, Brian.
That's true. Yes. Yeah, that's true. I was thinking like $50.
That's right. Now I'm going out for a nice burger. It's very exciting stuff. Coming up, we're going to talk collections. What are you collecting at your home? It's 6:48 right now. Civic Media Mornings. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan, and this is the Civic Media Radio Network.
And we cover all of it. This is 92.7 WMDX Madison and on the Civic Media app.
Get the drill out of my face. Hey, no one wants to get their teeth drilled at the dentist, right? That's why I stopped. This is Dr. Chris Kammer from Victorious Dental. When you can heal cavities with brush-on medicine, why would you ever want to amputate tooth structure with a dental drill? There are no dental drills at Victorious Dental, and no shots either. Don't need them. For a kinder, more humane healing experience at the dentist, reach out to Victorious Dental at thedrillisgone.com.
Transform your bathroom with the beautiful quality of Bath Planet. Bath Planet has earned the Good Housekeeping seal, a symbol of quality and consumer confidence for over 100 years. And right now, for a limited time, you can upgrade your bathroom for 50% off installation or choose 18 months with no interest and no payments. But you need to call now. This special offer is only available by calling 800-329-4115. That's 800-329-4115. Call 800-329-4115 right now before the offer ends.
When a warrior faces adversity, he fights through it. He finds a way. Freedom isn't free. Rolling strong. Belief. Believe you can, and you will.
Wheelchairs for Warriors provides mobility solutions to veterans and first responders injured in the line of duty. Join the mission and visit wheelchairsforwarriors.org.
Listen to the Civic Media exclusive podcast, Busted Pencils.
Protest is democracy in action. So let's organize our voice and, like Tim says, know the rules, but we also should teach them. What is the appropriate way to exercise your democratic voice, which is also a civic responsibility? It's not saying, hey, let's teach a protest against something specific. That's for any level of things. We see that peaceful protest is not passivity. This is what democracy looks like.
Subscribe to Busted Pencils wherever you listen to podcasts.
This is Robert Pilot, host of Native Roots Radio. On our show, we talk about Native issues like treaties, protecting Mother Earth, and holding our elected officials accountable. You'll also hear from Turtle Island voices like Arvina Martin, State Representative Heather Keeler, Ruth Anna Buffalo, Dr. Anthony Stately, State Senator Mary Kunish, Robert Lilligren, and Bob Blake. Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
Native Roots Radio, weeknights at 8 on your local Civic Media radio station.
Every 15 seconds, someone is diagnosed with cancer. If it's happened to you or someone you love, the American Cancer Society can help at every step of the journey. Visit cancer.org today.
Construction barrels bloom.
15 seconds till we're back.
That's how we do it.
That was good. Thank you, Boy Aquarium. I have to actually applaud the Boy Aquarium, not only for the music this morning, but also for turning up the heat in the studio. It was frigid in here this morning, so thank you.
My hands hurt.
Thank you
They're
for
so cold.
taking care of the host and yourselves. We appreciate it. It is 6:52 right now. You are listening to Civic Media Mornings on the Civic Media Radio Network. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. And do you collect things, especially something unusual? We would love to hear about your collection. 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. And Jamie, do you collect anything?
I collect things that I never get back to. That's what I collect. You buy something, you're like, I have good intentions of starting this, doing this, reading this, whatever it might be, and then it never goes anywhere. So I always have to take a big box to Goodwill because my ambitions are much bigger, much greater than my time. Let's put it like that. That's what I collect. But no, I've never been one to have a collection of things. Like I've just never done that. If I like something, I get it. If it happens that, I have a collection of a few things in the same genre, sure. Now, my husband would probably say I collect shoes. He would say that is probably something I collect. He might be right if you go into my closet. But that would be probably the extent of it. What about you?
Well, we have a couple of, I have a couple things. One that we don't really anymore, but, I collected shot glasses for years because I traveled all over, and I thought, that's a small thing. It won't take up much space until you have a few hundred of them. Then it's like, this is taking up a lot of space.
Yes.
And so finally, after boxing them and unboxing them for various moves, I just donated all of them. I was like, I can't with the shot glasses.
Yeah.
And then we have an entire cabinet filled with Boyd's bears, these little resin bears. And We've been told by our daughter she does not want them. So at some point, all these beautiful things that are like, I always figure you should collect something you really enjoy.
Sure.
And that started out as like a one piece that somebody gave me because it was a Bears one.
That makes
like
sense.
a bear in a Bears sweater. And I was like, oh, that was cool. And then my wife really liked them, and we just started getting more and more. But the reason we brought this up is not to just reminisce about the stuff we have cluttering up our own house. Did you see this story about a retired CBS Philadelphia news anchor?
I did. And I think this is fascinating only because you never see an anchor's feet. So I find this to be fascinating. In fact, most anchors I always worked with didn't even wear their dress pants or their skirts under the desk. They usually just wore shorts or jeans, depending on the time of year, because you never see them, right?
Exactly.
But this gentleman's name is Jim Donovan, and he has a love for socks and very colorful ones. Yes. And it's actually earned him the Guinness World Record for the largest collection of socks.
Wow.
Now, he says his colorful socks were noticed by viewers during his tenure on the air. Again, I don't know how that actually happens, but the fans started to send him new pairs to add to his collection, including some with his own face on them. I don't know if I need that in my world.
I've seen a lot of that lately where you can get like your pet's face on there, your own face, your partner's face, kids' faces on your socks. I don't know.
Well, I guess to keep them on your sweaty, stinky feet. It keeps them closer to you.
When you cross your legs, you look down. Oh, look, there's my dog. Isn't that sweet? That's lovely. Or but I saw he was holding up in the story I read some Cookie Monster socks. He had some Beaker socks from the Muppet Show. They were all, and not like just an Argyle sock. These were crazy patterned socks. Because people had started sending the socks to him. But I don't know how, your point, unless he hosts like a public affairs show where he's sitting in a chair and he crosses his legs and people go, oh, look at it. Look at Jim's wild socks.
Otherwise, you'd never see them. But anyway, he says that breaking the Guinness World Record was a bucket list item for him. So I think we have to ask the Boy Aquarium. Boy Aquarium, do you guys have anything you collect? Parker, we'll start with you this morning.
I mean, definitely not socks. I would like to say that I collect a lot of cookies.
Okay. Do you eat them then too?
Well, of course I have to eat them.
All right.
Yeah,
all right. Is that a collection? If they just disappear, then
no.
That's a weak sauce
I think if
answer.
you build up a stock of them.
No.
Okay. All right.
You're just stockpiling. You're hoarding.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'll share.
All right, Tom. What about you?
I collect beanies.
That's
I'm a big beanie collector because I've always hated my haircut every single time I get it, so I've just kept with beanies, and that's pretty much it.
And if you don't watch on the stream, sometimes he changes them during the show.
Yes,
it's very exciting. Mark from Prairie du Sac, do people still collect Beanie Babies? Thank God, no. At least in our case, that was a money making scheme that my wife came up with. We had hundreds of Beanie Babies. Hundreds of them.
No, if I recall us having an off-air chat one time, even when you did your travels across the country, you would be forced to go find certain Beanie Babies.
I was tasked with, because, when you're a stand-up, you work for 45 minutes a night. So I had time to stop in every tiny Hallmark store and drugstore throughout the country looking for, and I would call excitedly using the calling card because there were no cell phones, and I found the dragon, blah, blah, blah. So yes. And Mark says he has 25 Ducks Unlimited miniature decoys.
Nice.
Dan says he collects 1800s era bottles.
Oh, interesting.
Wow.
Okay.
Yes. So
that might take up more room than your shot glasses, honestly.
I think so
very
too.
Cool. Yeah, very cool. Again, if you want to chime in this morning, you can do so. All you have to do is call or text us. The number is 1-855-752-4842, 1-855-75-CIVIC. You can let us know what you collect. You can let us know if you've got something odd that you collect because, well, we all have a little oddity in us every now and then.
Loved seeing Donovan's. Just the last thing on this, they had to lay them all out in the studio and with the Guinness people and went through and were counting. It was amazing. It was amazing.
I love it. It is 6:59 right now. Coming up, we are going to talk property tax relief. Yeah, it's going to be a big... You're just going to rock out. Like, we've lost Brian. We've lost Brian. You're listening to Civic Media Mornings. I'm Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan, and you are running with the devil on the Civic Media Radio Network. Nice.
MDX Columbus, Madison's real news and great conversation. A Civic Media station. WMDXradio.com.
ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. The head of the EU Commission blunt this morning when talking about President Trump's threats of new tariffs on European countries that try to stop the U.S. takeover of Greenland.
The proposed additional tariffs are a mistake, especially between long-standing allies.
Ursula von der Leyen speaking to the same World Economic Forum that Trump will address tomorrow. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson talking to Parliament in London.
I told the President that I felt that my mission here today was to encourage our friends and help to calm the waters, so to speak, and I hope to do so.
Investors aren't too calm, though. Stock futures pointing to a sharply lower open at the bell. Millions of Americans shivering under Arctic conditions this morning. Winter weather alerts in place from New Jersey through North Dakota. The system also blamed for triggering a 100-car pileup in the state of Michigan. Indiana celebrating its first college football national title ever after beating the University of Miami. This is ABC News. From the Capitol to your kitchen table, Madison's biggest stories live right here on 92.7 WMDX.
For 92.7 WMDX News, I'm Shali Pittman. It's a 1,000-square-foot house in South Madison, and it's been transformed into a creative and safe space for seniors in memory care. Mark Richardson of the Wisconsin News Connection has more.
The Memory Collectors Storytelling Project operates out of the Creators Cottage, offering a free co-working and quilting space for older African-American women. Cottage, founded by art director Katrina Sparkman, aims to support artists and writers and focuses on fighting Alzheimer's disease through art. Sparkman told PBS Wisconsin about the program.
One of our programs is the Memory Collectors Storytelling Project, Fighting Alzheimer's with Art. This is our health equity program. It's totally free for all of our participants in the program, and this is our program for grown women.
Nearly a quarter of Black Americans over age 70 have dementia, twice the rate of older white adults, with stress and experiences of racism cited as likely causes. Sparksman said studies show that artistic activities in safe community spaces can help the brain adapt and use different cognitive pathways, offering health benefits. Over 40 women participate in the storytelling project, learning from quilt makers, traveling together, and creating legacy or memory quilts, often incorporating personal items and portraits. Sparkman says quilting fosters community conversation and healing, echoing historical traditions. She talked about how volunteers engage with their clients.
She has teamed up with each of the women in the collective to create these portraits with fabric that is very meaningful to them.
She says the project is described as both art and health equity, with participants reporting improved mental health and reduced depressive episodes. The story was produced with original reporting from Amy Frankie Feligy for Arts Midwest.
Mark Richardson reporting for the Wisconsin News Connection. I'm Shali Pittman, 92.7 WMDX News.
A Bucks win in Atlanta. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with Sports NBA. The Bucks are back home after a game that went down to the wire against the Atlanta Hawks. Coverage on Peacock Network.
McCollum, Kuzma defending. A two can tie it. McCollum working, lost the ball, scoops it back up, forces up a prayer. Shot is no good. Giannis the rebound, and it's all over. Dramatic finish, and Milwaukee survives with a 112-110 win in Atlanta.
The Bucks let the Hawks get back in the game with about 8 minutes left to play. Head coach Doc Rivers.
You know, we had that stretch mid-fourth where we couldn't score. I didn't think, I thought we went away from what we were doing. Then when we went right back to it, we got everything we wanted.
So the Bucks host the Thunder tomorrow night in Milwaukee with a late start. Game time 8:30 p.m. College hoops. Marquette beat Providence in overtime, 105-104. NFL, Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley hired as the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. With Sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
Parallel parking in Madison? Impossible. Finding real conversation on the radio? Probable. With 92.7 WMDX.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. A partly cloudy sky tonight, low close to 5 below. Wind chill to 15 below. For tomorrow, increasing clouds, a high in the mid-teens. Some snow showers tomorrow night and Wednesday. Accumulations of around an inch or two. High temps of 20 to 25. It's 3 below right now.
I'm Rick Smith, host of The Rick Smith Show. If you're looking for honest talk, real stories, and straight-up news that matters to you, tune in to The Rick Smith Show. We're digging into the issues that affect your job, your family, your future. Join me weeknights at 9 on the Civic Media Radio Network, because your voice deserves to be heard. That's The Rick Smith Show, heard weeknights at 9 right here on the Civic Media Radio Network.
You're a storyteller, negotiator, artist, innovator. Whatever your passion, whatever your skills, behind the scenes or in front, you belong here. A career in broadcast media. Local radio and TV stations in every town and city need someone like you. So do what you love and bring your talent to life. Your passion, your skills, your career. You belong here. Learn more at youbelonghere.media.
15 seconds until we're back.
.706 right now. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. If you are listening on WXCO in Wausau, or maybe you are listening right here in Madison on WMDX, or on 93.5 The Tap in Eau Claire, thank you for having us on. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. We're glad you're here. If you remember, during the 2023 to 2025 budget, there was a veto that was put in by Governor Evers. Now, this veto was about a $325 per student annual increase in school revenue that was only supposed to last through that budget. But then the governor pulled a quick one, and he instituted a 400-year veto. Never heard of before. The most beautiful veto that's ever been put in, just to, in case he's channeling somebody else. The 400-year veto, that came, oh man, people were not happy about the 400-year-old veto. And now Robin Vos says he is going to do whatever he can to undo that 400-year veto, Jamie.
Yes, the 400-year veto, which we'll get into here in just a few moments, because these are partial veto, 400-year veto. You're going to hear these terms a lot because property taxes are at the center of a standoff at the Wisconsin Capitol. And Voss says that any deal on property tax relief must include undoing the controversial 400-year veto.
Controversial is an understatement.
Yes, and the veto, as you mentioned, allows school districts to raise revenue each year per student, right, by $325. Republicans are saying that is a key reason why a lot of homeowners throughout the state are seeing tax hikes and say that relief can't come without fixing what they view as a structural flaw in the system. Well, it's been on the books for quite some time, and again, we'll get into it in just a few minutes. But Democrats, on the other hand, are saying that there's a deeper problem in long-term underfunding of our public schools. And they're saying that the last state budget didn't increase general school aid, and it forced districts to rely on property taxes just so that they can maintain staff and programs. Now, as a former educator, I'm assuming that these arguments are not new to you, Brian.
No, they're not new. We don't hear them as much as Wisconsin. Wisconsin, every election, every city, every town, every district is, every year they're coming back for more money, more money, more money. That all shouldn't fall on property owners.
Right.
It's not their job. It's the job of the state and the job of the Board of Ed. And so I understand people getting upset that every year their property taxes go up. That's unconscionable. You're like, I can't, I bought this house. I know taxes are going to go up occasionally, but I can't keep paying more and more taxes.
Right. And throughout the state of Wisconsin, I mean, our lawmakers haven't just shifted school funding fully to the state budget for several different reasons. There's been political priorities. There's been longstanding emphasis on local control. And then there was also the repeated choices to favor income tax cuts over larger increases in the school funding and aid. And that structure pushes more financial pressure now onto the homeowners.
Right.
Now, Governor Evers is urging lawmakers to revisit his proposal of more than $1 billion in property tax relief paired with increased state support for the schools. He is arguing that districts were raising taxes and turning to all of these referendums, because there's always a referendum or two or three, or the list goes on, long before his veto, and that the state needs to shoulder more of that cost. So,
Yes.
he's agreeing with you.
Yeah.
Both sides say that they want to lower property taxes, but obviously, just like in many things that happen in our government system across the country and across the state, they disagree on how to do it. Until there is some sort of broader agreement, though, on how Wisconsin funds its schools, property taxes at this point are probably going to remain a pretty high pressure point for a lot of homeowners across the state. And again, with it being a midterm, and Tom Tiffany, presumably the front runner for the Wisconsin GOP, and the Democrats still trying to figure out who their front runner is going to be, you're going to hear these arguments come up over and over because homeowners are tired of the price increases. And we have some of the highest taxes in the country in Wisconsin.
It's nuts. And then you're penalizing people who've worked hard and have bought a house and own property. You're penalizing businesses. And this doesn't mean that I'm saying, oh, well, schools need to be funded. And you've got to retain teachers. You've got to recruit new teachers, younger teachers. You've got to give them a reason to stay in your districts, because it should be obvious to everybody that if your kids don't know how to read and write and are not up to date on tech, they're not going to stay. They're not going to thrive. And then they won't have houses. Then you won't have property tax because nobody will own a home. And I know that's getting a little hyperbolic, but it all kind of leads to the same thing. You have to fund the schools. Now, Voss says that, the Republicans are open to property tax relief, but the whole system needs to be changed. They don't want just more spending, which is what we were talking about before. So that brings us to another fascinating lesson of Jamie's Civic Center, where Jamie teaches us.
Good morning, class. Good morning, class.
Sorry, Jamie, we'll listen.
Thank you.
All right. So to understand this,
Bring the music down a little, fellas.
Just a little bit. There we go. There we go.
Thank you.
So to understand how we got here, we've got to talk about the 400-year veto and the partial veto, right?
Yes.
Because these are terms, again, that I think we hear a lot in this state, but we don't fully understand necessarily what that means. So you mentioned it just a few minutes ago. In 2023, during the state budget, Governor Evers used Wisconsin's partial veto, and we'll get into that more in just a moment, to turn a 2-year school funding increase into one that lasts until the year 24-25. And he did that by striking just a few characters from the budget bill, changing 2024-25 into 24-25. Right? So the Wisconsin Supreme Court ruled in April of 2025 that move was legal and reinforced the very broad veto powers that governors have in this state. Governors in this state have some of the broadest veto powers of any governor in the country. Now, as our lawmakers are debating how to provide property tax relief, that veto is back at the center of this conversation because Republicans, including Robin Voss, say that it needs to be undone before any relief can actually happen. And Democrats are saying that it's the years of underfunding the schools, not the actual veto, that got us to this particular moment in time. Now, when it comes to our partial veto, okay,
Yes.
so that was the 400-year veto. Now you have to understand the partial veto and what that actually means.
All right.
This is essentially one of the most powerful tools any governor has anywhere in the country. The authority comes from a 1930 constitutional amendment that lets governors approve budget bills in whole or in part. Now, over time, that's been interpreted to allow governors to strike words, numbers, and even punctuation from spending bills, sometimes reshaping policy in very significant ways, like 2024-25 becoming 2425. That's what we're talking about here. Now,
Wow.
voters, yeah, I know, this is fascinating stuff. Voters have actually stepped in to limit some of the most extreme uses of the partial veto, banning governors from deleting individual letters to form new words. If you voted in 1998, you might remember the amendment that banned the Vanna White veto. There was also another one from 2008 called the Frankenstein veto that essentially stitched together unrelated sentences. That had to be put to a vote, which the voters were like, no, we're not doing that.
Wow.
The core of this, though, is the partial veto, and it remains intact. And that's how Governor Evers was able to turn a 2-year, $325 per student school funding increase, one that lasts into 2425. Wow. Either way, this is becoming a huge moment in Wisconsin politics and in our governance system. And it's one that continues to basically take over budget fights, school funding, and, of course, the property tax discussions that we're going to hear over and over across the state. It's fascinating. I did not know. I've known a little bit, not being from this state originally, right? I did not know everything about the partial veto, and I've had to do some studying to fully understand it. And it is really fascinating the power that we give our governors in the state of Wisconsin. It's crazy.
That is amazing. And the new amendments the amendments that you mentioned from 1990 and 2008, that's crazy. We do give a lot. I gotta give it to it. Now, I remember talking about this last year when this was all happening, and we must not have talked much about the partial veto, where it was just, I'm going to get rid of the 2, the 0, and the dash. And now, hey, surprise.
See, and this is why we do these little civics lessons, because when we're thinking about who we're electing and we're thinking about our property taxes, our school funding, we need to understand how we actually got here and what authority our governor has essentially to make some of these moves. And, honestly, while this is very fascinating, I don't really mind a little pushback on this, because I wouldn't like this if a Republican governor did it.
I would be furious if I was a Democratic lawmaker and the governor struck 2 numbers and a dash, and all of a sudden we got a 400-year veto. It's like, hold on, brother, we can't do that. Yes, I can.
Let's be real. We've had Republican governors in the state who have also used the partial veto to their advantage.
Of course. This is an unusual thing that we have to look at again, because governors can still strike entire numbers or words. They just can't create new words letter by letter. Yes, we're not playing Boggle with the state budget.
You can't Scrabble.
I'm going to take these letters. I'm going to put it together. Look at this. Now
and I'm going to make
I'm
a full
the king.
word, and it's absolutely crazy. And so, yes, I absolutely agree with the banning of 1998's Vanna White veto, also the Frankenstein veto from 2008. But the partial veto lives on in infamy, and this is still a thing that Wisconsin governors can do. And again, I'm going to reiterate, it's one of the most powerful tools, and Wisconsin's literally the only state that's allowing this to this degree anyway.
And Jamie's civics class is dismissed. Go on about your business. Go to PE. Make sure you shower, because we don't want you to stink when you come back into algebra.
Don't you feel more educated, though?
I do.
Like you actually know something.
No, I've learned about the trade bazooka. I further understand the partial veto. And I now understand exactly how shifty it was to get that 400-year veto in. Even though it's legal, 100% legal.
Right.
Still shifty.
It's a little
Still a
shifty.
little bit, yeah. Still a little, as the kids would say, sus. Is that what they
Yeah,
would say?
it's a
kids?
little sus.
It's
Yes.
a little sus.
Look how
Yeah.
excited Boyquarium gets when we use words they understand.
I like
Look
to.
at you guys speak
I
our
like
language.
I like to drop in a little something for the kids, in case you're in the car with your teenager and they're like, "Well, you're listening to these old people drone on." Did he just say sus?
That's
And
right.
I go, "Yep."
You got them for 5 seconds,
New
and then they
P1s.
tuned right back out.
Yeah, they put their earbuds back in.
That's
And they're
right, that's
listening to ASAP Rocky. There's another one. Yeah, look, they're like, who? You heard me. I just watched Saturday Night Live. That's why I pulled that. That's where I pulled that from.
It is 7:19 right now. Speaking of budgets and money, your energy bill might be increasing. We're going to find out why when we come back. You're listening to Civic Media Mornings. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan, and this is the Civic Media Radio Network.
All right. Looks like we've got Tom here.
Hello, hello.
Good morning, Tom.
Hello,
Good
Tom.
morning,
How are
good morning.
you?
Good, how are you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
What do we got here? Just a couple minutes. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This will be a quick
Sure thing.
7-minute conversation.
Okay.
We will discuss, obviously, the increase in energy bills, why people are seeing higher bills. If there's, I'm sure Brian's got a list of things, too. But if there's any relief in sight, potentially why, with what time we have, why we're maybe seeing these increases.
Sure.
And I'll let Brian chime in as well here.
Yeah, so it's going to be basically nothing to surprise you. You'll have
That's
You'll have
fine.
the answers to everything, and maybe what we can expect going forward. And there's been a lot of talk about how bills could go up based on the proliferation of data centers. So
Sure. Yeah.
we'll see
we can
all of that.
we can get into any of all those things very quickly.
Perfect.
I'll try to keep them tight. So.
We're going to assume that it's not because of the Christmas lights that people are
That
seeing.
was going to be my first question. You took the first question.
You can still.
I know.
Yeah.
It's all good.
It's just been freezing.
Yes. It's,
Very cold.
And here we are again. So.
Yeah. It's supposed to be worse this week, too, by the end of the week.
Yeah.
Well, there's a winter weather advisory for tonight, starting at 9 o'clock.
exactly.
More snow and
Should be super fun tomorrow morning.
Exactly. Cool.
Well, we just contributed to the increase of Civic's bill because it is much warmer in here than it was about
Yeah,
a half hour ago.
I just
my
heard that
goodness.
segment, and thank you for turning the heat up. But I'm thinking, okay, watch your bills.
It was freezing in here.
yeah.
All right, we'll be back in 25 seconds. Tom, just so you know, if you start to hear music coming up, we're about to go out, so you got to wrap up.
Okay. And it's content, not content, just in case.
Content.
It's 7:22 right now. Civic Media Mornings on the Civic Media Radio Network. We hope that you are having a great start to your Tuesday. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. And if you're like most people, you looked at your December utility bill and you went, what is happening? What? Well, you're not alone. Like I said, most people saw an increase in their utility bills in December. Why? Why are things going up all the time? I don't know. Tom Content is the executive director of Citizens Utility Board of Wisconsin. He joins us on Civic Media Mornings to kind of answer those questions. Tom, thanks for being here. Let's get this urban legend out of the way. I've had this argument with my wife. She claims it was probably the Christmas lights that all of a sudden skyrocketed our utility bill in December. And as I looked at our lights, I was like, they were nice, but they weren't enough to raise the electric rate that much. Can we put that theory to rest?
I think we can. I mean, and thanks for having me on. I think we can. Most Christmas lights these days are LED, and LEDs use such a fraction of the energy, which is why there's actually more and more lights being used. So some people are concerned about light pollution, just not in the Christmas season, of course, but there's a lot of it's not a thing, but really what's happening is natural gas prices rose, and so that affects heating costs. But the big thing is the weather, and we had sub-zeros in December, and I was just looking at the departure from normal in terms of how cold it was in December really drove a lot. I'm not saying, as Cub, the consumer advocate, we're doing everything we can to stop increases on the electric side of the bill, but there's less we can control in the heating months on the natural gas side of the bill.
So, Tom, is it coming from the fuel costs versus infrastructure upgrades? Is it grid maintenance? Is it projects? What? And obviously, you mentioned the cold temperatures, but what is it about what's happening right now that's increasing these prices?
For this time of year, it's mainly the natural gas price increases and the heat, the weather conditions really affect the heating side of the bill. But at the same time, all of our utilities, except for Madison Gas and Electric, had significant increases on January 1 on the electric side of the bill. So whether you're We Energy's customer or WPS or Alliant or Excel across the state, you're seeing big increases on the electric side of the bill. And that is infrastructure. It's also, from our perspective, it's increases at times linked to high profits that are too high for the utility companies. And that's why we exist as a consumer advocate, to try to make sure that there's fairness and balance when the regulators make the decisions on these things. So it is a mix of factors, and we're working and our team is trying to fight energy inflation every single day.
Well, and it's going to be an issue going forward, Tom, because there's been a lot of talk about how much energy is going to be needed for all these proposed data centers. And that bill will also come down not just to the companies that build these centers, but are going to come down to you and I who are paying these bills. What can consumers look not forward to, but what can we expect coming down the pike?
That's really the game changer right now is data centers, and what in terms of the energy grid, it's really kind of daunting how much energy each data center uses. We Energy is the state's largest utility. Took 120 years to go from zero, no demand for electricity, to 5,000 megawatts of electricity, and just these two projects in Port Washington and Racine are going to double that, from 5,000 to 10,000. So it's a lot. Right now, the tech companies and the utility are saying the right things, that other customers won't see their bills go up, but we're skeptical, and we're concerned that there will be spillover effects, and we're in a case right now where we need the State Public Service Commission to plug some loopholes to make sure that doesn't happen.
We're talking with Tom Content. He is the executive director director of Citizens Utility Board of Wisconsin. I'll get words out here this morning. Tom, looking ahead, are there any sort of policy or regulatory changes, as we're talking about the databases, we're talking about these increased prices, that could actually stabilize and help lower some of these utility bills for homeowners?
Yeah. On the data center issue, I think the legislature's actually been thinking about this a little bit, and we think it's good that both parties have bills about data centers right now. We think that just in terms of what would be good for customers is a statewide framework so that data centers are treated consistently from utility to utility across the state. So for that reason, we're in favor of the Senator Jody Abish-Sinek and Representative Stroud bill that's out there. But if it would be great to see, and given that affordability and the cost of living are the top issue for most voters, it would be great to see both parties come together. Hope springs eternal. That they can actually work together to get stuff done for Wisconsin.
Tom, time is getting tight for us, but is there anything, is there assistance for people who got their bills and their utility bills are just getting high and they're having trouble making payments? Is there help for them?
There are programs out there to help people who are already low income. There's a lot of federal energy assistance money that the Trump administration threatened to cancel, but it is in full force in Wisconsin. So people can apply for energy assistance. There are special programs for veterans, the Heat for Heroes campaign, and there are other programs that can help people. And the other thing people can do is just think about, they can get free energy saving kits from the Focus on Energy program. Any customer of a Wisconsin utility is eligible to get that just by going to the Focus on Energy website. So there are options available. And the other thing, just so that you don't see this big impact during the year, if you can get on a budget billing plan, so that smooths out the impact of these increases over the full year.
Thank you so much. That is Tom Content. He is the Executive Director of Citizens Utility Board of Wisconsin. Some good advice there as we watch our utility bills increase. Coming up, we are going to talk more about what's been happening in Minneapolis. We are going to be joined by a resident and radio show host. You're listening to Civic Media Mornings. I'm Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan, and this is the Civic Media Radio Network.
Thank
Tom,
you.
thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Tom.
That was
Appreciate
great.
it.
Yeah, glad to do it.
All right, we'll talk again. Have a great rest of your day.
All right, take care now.
Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Tom.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Frank was worried that was going to be too short. We nailed it.
Nailed it.
Professional.
Ye of little faith.
Oh, goodness.
Strawberries, helping with honeypeas as well as row crops. They're raising their own crop of kids.
Well, we both grew up on family farms, and we learned the value of hard work and also understanding where our food comes from. It's been a joy not only to raise our kids, but connect other kids that we have learned through and met through our kids at school and other 4-H and other activities, and to get to ignite another generation about how great it is to grow food and the challenges that come with it, but how rewarding those challenges can be. And then the community that surrounds them and surrounds our farm has just been a great place to raise a family.
Danielle Clark, along with her husband Tim, owners and operators of Mayberry Farms in Mayville, where they're raising not only crops, but also their kids. And they're attracting local families as well as urban tourists that want to learn more about their farm, coming from as far away as Chicago. The Grow Wisconsin Conference in Wisconsin Dells continues through Wednesday.
It's time to improve your crops and your bottom line. TH Agrochemicals is an independently owned ag chemical company that has been working with growers for over 4 decades. They offer a large line of generic chemicals that can help you save money. They work with row crops and specialty crops like potatoes, apples, cranberries, and more. Call the experienced sales team for recommendations or visit TH Ag at the Corn Soy Expo, booth 402 at the Kalahari in Wisconsin Dells.
Did you know soybean diseases like white mold and sudden death syndrome can survive in your soil even after rotating crops? Prevention of these
folks. Looks like we've got John Parker back here.
Hey, all.
There we
Hey,
go.
John, good to see you.
Hey, sorry I'm late. Of course, my
No, you're
computer
good.
starts having problems right when I have to log in.
That's been a thing today.
It's-
We're not the only one.
The last couple days, it's just, it's nuts.
It's ice getting to us on more ways than one, right?
Yeah. So Big Brother is listening, and he
Kind of
doesn't like
insane.
what he hears.
Oh my goodness.
Things
all right.
never a dull moment up in Minneapolis, huh?
Mm-mm. No, not lately. Not
Are you
lately.
under investigation yet? It seems like the DOJ is investigating everybody up there.
Not yet.
All right.
Not yet. It makes me happy. We have a double door to get into the station, so which is not where I'm at, unfortunately, right now. But
The day is also early. It's an
This
early
is-
start to the day.
this is true. This is very true.
So just catching up on everything.
The big flashpoint is this church story.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's but the fact that the The protests don't seem to be getting any smaller, despite the weather getting colder and colder. People in Minnesota are hardy.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, they are.
Aren't we all this region?
Yeah, that's
of
true.
the-
I was gonna say I was out shoveling yesterday and it was below zero, and all that was open was my eyes. It was still like I was like, I got to go get some ski goggles because my eyes were hurting. It was so cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
We do this to ourselves. You realize we
Yeah.
thank our ancestors for settling here. and us never
Mine
having the
didn't.
gumption to leave. No?
Yours didn't. You chose this life.
I am the grandson of refugees, unfortunately.
Well,
So
I am too. My grandparents all came over from Ireland, and they got off the boat, and then they came here. It's like, what? What? Okay.
We got 20 seconds.
$7:35 right now. You are listening to the Civic Media Radio Network, Civic Media Mornings. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. Good morning. Glad you're here. Nothing is changing in Minneapolis. And by that, I mean we're still having protests. The people of Minneapolis are still taking to the streets after the murder of Renee Good by an ICE agent. Now, a week and a half ago, just about. John Parker is joining us again. He was with us last week. He's a host on AM 950 KTNF in Minneapolis. John, we appreciate your time as always. Before we get into some of the specific stories, what's the mood, and have there been any changes that maybe outside of the Twin Cities people aren't hearing about?
with the advent of social media and everything, let me rephrase that. Governor Walz gave every Minnesotan, particularly in the Twin Cities, last Wednesday, an instruction: record everything. And I think Minnesotans have really taken that to heart. And I feel like whatever platform you're on, whether it's Blue Sky, Twitter, Threads, etc., you're seeing the videos. We're all seeing the videos, and so I think that we're seeing a story, an invasion of an American city in real time with the video evidence everywhere, which is why I think they are being so intent on trying to make us disbelieve what we're seeing with our very own eyes. And I have a story to share with you about that.
Yes,
from a
please do.
local outlet that shows you the depths to which they're going here. So we all know Greg Bavino, right? Border
His nice
Patrol
coat.
chief.
Sure.
Yes.
Yes, his very evocative SS coat. So the local Fox 9 affiliate here in Minneapolis did a really great job. Their investigative unit went into deposition and court filings from last fall that he had to testify under. And the judge actually found him, this is the judge, said that he was, quote, evasive, quote, not credible, and, quote, outright lying at times. And you see in the deposition, and you can go to fox9.com and you can see this report. But why I want to mention it is that the people who are deposing him are showing him video of him in Minneapolis going up to a protester, tackling him to the ground, and the person interviewing him saying, "This is you tackling him to the ground." And Bavino goes, "No." And the guy, that is you tackling him to the ground. No, it's not. He asked Bavino 3 times if he was tackling. They were both looking at the video at the same time. And he's like, no, that's not what I'm doing. So it is a very clear, and who's the guy that wrote 1984?
George Orwell.
Orwell. That I didn't even know this was a quote of his, where the last instruction of the fascist government is to disbelieve what you see with your eyes. I'm paraphrasing it, and I didn't even know that was a thing until people started sending it to me on Blue Sky, where we see them trying to tell us, don't believe what you see with your eyes, and it is very clearly a tactic that they're taking now. Don't believe anything.
And it's interesting you bring that up because Bovino had the same issue in Chicago courtrooms during the Midway Blitz, and had to be called out by the attorneys, by the judges, for the exact same tactic. So it is fascinating that
I
they think it worked
apologize.
once. Yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I said tackling in Minneapolis. It was
in
actions that
Chicago.
he took in Chicago.
Yes.
I apologize.
Yes.
Thank you
No,
for that.
no.
It's early for me.
No,
all
it's
right.
okay. It's okay. So, John, let's talk about how residents, are, and not just the activists, not just the protesters, but just residents, people trying to go about their normal life. How are they reacting right now, do you think, to this expanded federal presence and the protests that are happening, peaceful as most of them have been? Are people feeling safer? Is there more anxiousness to what's happening in Minneapolis, or is there's some other feeling that you're getting from being in the city?
I think we're seeing people turning into activists. People who had never thought about going to a protest before are making a sign and going to a protest. People who would have never thought, I'm going to go out and, negative 40 below wind chill and go stand outside Fort Snelling, the Whipple building, to, throw water balloons. They're doing it. So I think that we are seeing, the longer this goes on, the more I am curious to see the generational effects that is going to have, particularly on the kids, high school age folks right now who are going to be voters in 2028, like as they're looking at their government, not only with gun control, the lack of gun control, and they have to do mass shooter drills, but now they've got federal agents waiting for them on the sidewalks of their schools. And they're being told, well, you can now learn remotely again, like we did under COVID, or you can, or you can come here and watch what's going on. And I think that the mood is, obviously it's, it goes without saying that it's tense right now, but it is in a, as I've been saying the past 24 hours, we're in a very untenable, unsustainable situation, because you have the governor and the mayor saying, don't take the bait. Okay, fine. But you're not living in the neighborhoods where they are driving up and down those streets. You're not walking up to, you're not sitting in a restaurant and suddenly having ICE walk in. And so you've got that brutality going on while we have a federal government that's like, well, we now have 1,500 troops waiting for you in Alaska. And then you've got the governor saying, well, I've got National Guard troops on standby still. And it's, something's going to give. And what is it going to be that's going to give? And I think a lot of folks are also having this cognitive dissonance and feeling like they are in as Representative Jasmine Crockett said in a recent speech, this is like a domestic abuse relationship where I'm tired of watching the mainstream media. I can't believe I'm saying that as a person of the media, but I'm tired of watching Governor Walz and Mayor Fry being asked to, how are you going to tone down the situation? How are you going to bring down the temperature when we have an administration that's like, we're going to bring in the military over what? What have we done? What has anybody done here that's justified bringing in the military? So we have somebody who's beating us up, and then we're being asked constantly, well, are you sure you didn't do anything to make Trump mad?
Well,
or the question, what do you think it is? Why do you think it is that Trump hates you this much? I don't care. That is not the question for us to figure out right now. That is not the question that you should be asking. So it's we wait on the courts. We wait on the courts at this point.
Always. John Parker's our guest. He's a host on AM 950 KTNF in Minneapolis. John, I just want to, for people who, yes, we're seeing all the videos, as you mentioned before, we're seeing things in real time, but for people who are not familiar with Minneapolis as a city, the mayor was on all the Sunday morning shows, and he was saying, listen, it's the whole city is not having protests. It's certain little areas. Is that the case? And where, for those who may have visited Minneapolis or don't really know, how contained are these protests, or how widespread are these protests?
I would say that the Whipple building by Fort Snelling, their headquarters, there has been a steady presence daily there. That's near constant. I don't want to say it's 24 hours a day, but for sure, during the day, you can go over there and you will see protesters there. You will most likely either see protesters of vigils around the site where Renee Nicole Good was shot and killed by Jonathan Ross. And you see things pop up essentially because we have there are a couple trackers now of where ICE activity is.
Okay.
You see when something is starting to happen, or you see people, we know that like at this restaurant they're there, then you start to see a sudden conflagration of people showing up to A, document it, and B, show support for folks. So in that regard, being ICE are being watched for where their activity is, and then community responds.
Okay.
Now, most of these protests have remained peaceful. And then over the weekend, we found out about this protest that took place and disrupted a church service, right? And that's drawn national attention. And of course, the DOJ is now launching some sort of investigation. How are local residents viewing what happened in that church? And what do you think it says about, obviously, we talked a lot this morning about the strain of the situation, but is that just another stepping stone where you feel like something has to give, John?
I don't know how to, I can't believe that there are still folks in the cities living and watching this that are A-okay with it. They are here. They are fine. They think they're fine. And so the idea that their church would be, invaded by protesters is just, oh my gosh, clutch the pearls. And so it's creating, there are folks that they would say, well, this isn't, this is going too far. Okay, fine. But investigations into protesters, particularly for a pastor. I mean, this church was being identified because the pastor is pro-ICE, right, and using his position of authority to advocate for this violence that we're seeing. And when I saw the protest as a queer person, I immediately thought of the ACT UP protests from the 1980s, where they did quote unquote die-ins, where one of the tactics was to go into a church of a particularly homophobic either priest or pastor and to just lay down to simulate all of the dead bodies that were happening because there was no response to HIV and AIDS, the pandemic. And so they walked into a church, which everybody has the right to do, and they stopped the service. And that does not warrant an investigation, particularly on the same day that they tell us that they're not going to investigate anything about the shooting death of Renee Nicole Good. And because, a near quote, we all saw the video, so we know there isn't a need for an investigation, according to Todd Blanche.
But we did all see the video, and we do think there is. And just now, it goes to people's ideas of protest, and everybody always says, "Well, a peaceful protest is okay," but I don't want. You have to throw decorum out the window. I'm not saying to be violent. I still think nonviolence is the way, but you have to disrupt things. The only way to get attention is to disrupt. Now, as a guy who's not a big church goer, to me, it's like, yes, this accomplished what the protesters wanted. They got attention. They didn't break things. They didn't destroy anything. Nobody got hurt. They ruffled feathers. And that, unfortunately, for the people who, as you said very well, John, clutched their pearls, that's too far. But that's what protest is about. It's not supposed to be comfortable. They shouldn't go and sit in the back pew and just quietly wait.
And I also, the investigations part of it, I think that we're, particularly in Minnesota, starting to realize is that they viewed us as criminals.
Mm-hmm.
They view us as a threat. And so whenever we do anything that just even they don't like, they want to utilize the justice system against us to say, well, look, you walked into our church, that's bad, so now you're a criminal, we're going to investigate you. The fact that I hear the music coming on. So
yes. Well, John, we will
go.
definitely talk again. It's always great to have you and get your insight on
Thank
what's
you.
going on up in Minneapolis and Twin Cities. Thank you. John Parker is a host on AM 950 KTNF Minneapolis.
That's right. And it's 7:48 right now. And when we come back, we're going to talk some French fries. Brian, you're listening to Civic Media Mornings.
Thank you, John. Always a pleasure. We'll talk
Thank you
again
so much.
soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate you joining us.
Have a good rest of your day.
You too, man.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jen. Take care.
Bye.
Sorry, that was a rough out. I was watching time and then realized that it got away from us quickly. So.
Nope, that was fine. Got through it.
That's not a bar, Parker. That's not the bar we aim for.
Well, you know.
I think get through it. Listen, we're still on the air, I guess.
Well, for us, that's with all the tech
that's
issues.
true.
If we're
All
still
right.
on the air,
That was a bad example of the bar. Correct. All right. All right. Okay.
Oh, boy.
did we want to read a couple of these texts that came in during that segment, or move on?
Sure. Well, sure. We could read a couple.
Okay. There was just a couple. Lynn from Golden Valley talking about his Asian wife and how a bunch of the restaurants have closed, which I had friends tell me the other day.
Mm-hmm.
And then Patrick mentioning that there's more immigrants, and we've talked about this.
Yeah,
right?
that's not news anymore.
No.
We all know what it's.
This
we
is
all
not.
know it's not. It
It's a
has
blue state.
nothing to do with immigration.
It's a
Just
blue
like-
state,
yes,
and a blue city. Yep.
Just like it had nothing to do with drugs in Venezuela. Just like everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's.
Could you guys answer poor Patrick and let him know we saw his text?
So yes, Patrick, but we don't have time to read everybody's text.
I will not be ignored.
I will come to that station and boil your bunny. I do not care what's
That's
going
my
on.
line. That's my line for everybody when they feel ignored. I'm like, okay, Glenn Close, let's
Yeah.
move on now.
Slow your roll.
That's right. We don't need a boiled bunny. Just relax. I will not be ignored. Oh my gosh. And then we'll talk French fries and lighten up the mood.
We always leave with a couple, it's like a palate cleanser before people go into either
Yes.
Stephanie Miller or whatever.
Right? I'm sure Patrick will be very upset.
Well, listen, Patrick's brown. We got to get some. We got a couple oranges. It's mostly Mark and Troy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was a cool collection. Pre-prohibition beer advertising in containers.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
We didn't get to him. It came in late, 50
okay.
minutes ago. So
Yeah, I think it might have been after the block had ended.
Okay.
We might have been in the
we
break
were way
already there.
past.
Yeah. We've got math.
We're going to have to figure out
30 seconds.
how to incorporate some of the old stuff in with a new segment very quickly, because they're not always fast on the uptick. Sometimes it takes them a little bit to formulate their answers. So,
Ain't nobody got time for that.
right?
We got to go.
We've moved on, people.
We got to. Yeah, listen. This is a fast-moving train. If you
It
can't
is.
jump on, then you're
10 seconds.
out of luck.
It's 7:52 right now. You are listening to the Civic Media Radio Network. It's Civic Media Mornings. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. And if you are trying to get through on the text line or the talk line at 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842, they are getting through. Let's ask the question at the beginning of the segment.
Sure.
You don't have to tell us where your favorite French fry is, but you could. But I'm more curious about your favorite type of French fry. Is it the regular fry, the crinkle cut, the curly, the steak fries, a sweet potato fry, a seasoned or coated fry, an extra thin fry, a shoestring fry? There's so many fries, Jamie, and I have not been eating fries the last year, and I love fries. Occasionally, because I'm a human man with needs and wants, I will. Yes,
Well,
and
this
desires.
is going a completely different direction than I thought it was.
Of course it did. No, I'm just saying I'll belly up to a plate of fries. That's all. I don't know where your mind is going on a Tuesday morning.
I didn't know you were so passionate about your French fries, honestly.
I'm Irish. Any potato dish.
Gotcha.
I crave taters.
I've got Norwegian heritage and some Belgium heritage in there. So, yes, I do love myself a good potato. But kind of like you, I've had to change my ways with the potatoes, right?
Yes.
Mashed cauliflower is very good, but it's not quite the same as a good old mashed potato.
Not
Or,
the same.
It's
And
not.
A plain old sweet potato is delicious, but not like a twice baked.
Right,
Right. Something like that. But the reason I brought
I'm making
this up-
myself hungry.
Yeah, me too. That's why I'm going to try to steer it away from there because I do have some. I have to go make some hash browns. Anyway, we saw this story about the absolute best French fries in every state. And of course, because we like to end the show on a little lighter note, because quite frankly, we could only take an hour and 50 minutes of the punishing news, and we figure you can too. So the French fry, the origin of the fry is up for grabs. There's a lot of different theories about where it comes from, but the thing that makes a good French fry is beyond debate, according to this article, and I would agree with this. We want the fries golden brown.
Mm-hmm.
Jamie, do you prefer the crispier, firmer fry or the wet noodle French fry?
No, not a wet noodle. Those are
Okay, good.
disgusting.
Those
Those are gross. We can be friends after all. No, I got to have a little crisp to the outside, and when they're really soft on the inside, right? That's when they're absolutely the best. There is a fine way of cooking French fries, and not every place is good at it. Let's
and
be
they
honest.
have to be fresh. You can't.
Yes.
They can't sit in the back of the kitchen. If I go to a restaurant, and the fries come out hot, that's the first thing I notice. Like, the fries are still hot.
Yes.
And I'm over the moon.
I know, because there's nothing worse than a cold, soggy French fry dripping in grease. Those are disgusting. Those are absolutely disgusting. Now, apparently, we all want salt on our French fries too, Brian.
100%.
Yes.
Yes.
And we also need something to dip them in. Now, let me ask you, this is where it gets weird, right? Because some people are weird about their dipping sauces. Are you just a straight up ketchup person? Are you ketchup with a little spice? Do you like yourself some ranch? Because I have a bone to pick with anybody who loves ranch that much.
First of all, I despise ranch dressing in all its forms.
We can be friends. Oh my gosh, thank you. Blue cheese. I know a lot of people who love some blue cheese with their fries. So is there a particular dipping sauce that you prefer?
For everyday use, it's just a Heinz ketchup. The usual. I throw some salt on top of the ketchup too, because my sodium levels are nowhere near high enough. So I will. I salt the fries and then I salt the ketchup. But I do like a blue cheese if I'm out somewhere or we get wings. And then the blue cheese dip. I will try anything. I like going to the places that have sort of artisanal ketchups where they go, we have all these different ketchups.
Sure.
And I go, all right, I'm game. But
very exciting.
That's about it. The people who dip them in mayonnaise are the ones that bother me.
I feel like that there's something wrong with that. I feel like that shouldn't be a thing. But I know plenty of people who do. So
I do as well.
Why I have to ask. I have to ask the question. Len is chiming in over on our text line right now. He says, rallying the Spud Buds right now.
That's right.
I feel like
saddle up, regulators.
I feel like we're doing a good job of this right now. Now, I do have to say that I am okay with most types of French fries. The one French fries that I absolutely can't stand are the shoestring French fries. Those little teeny tiny skinny ones? I hate those because they get too crispy. And if I want a chip, I'll eat a chip, right? Like I'll have a chip. But but any other fry,
enough.
I'm good with. Steak fries I love, crinkle fries, waffle fries. Give me a good sweet potato fry. See, I can name food like anybody's business. This is why I had to lose 175 pounds, people. I know this stuff off the top of my head.
All right, for the record, according to this article, the best French fry in Wisconsin is the IPA fries at Camino in Milwaukee.
Ooh.
So there you go.
All right.
In Illinois, they're the beef dripping chips at Hawksmoor in Chicago. In Michigan, the Cosmic Fries at Hopcat in Detroit. And our friends in Minnesota say the French fries at Nightingale in Minneapolis.
Oh yeah.
Have
had
you been to
those.
Nightingale?
Oh yeah, those are amazing. Oh my gosh, we've got to talk about fries every day. Look at the text line.
A lot of
Roger,
malt vinegar.
Yeah, Roger in Stephen Point likes his fries straight up with a little salt. So thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Sherry, for giving us your opinion on the malt vinegar this morning.
Yes, malt vinegar. Anytime it's fish fry, it is malt vinegar on the fish and the fries. There's no doubt about it. I do not. This is my pet peeve. One, I don't like curly fries, but that's not a pet peeve. That's just a personal choice.
They're weird.
It's the coated fries that they put the. Oh yeah.
No. Now you're just ruining a good potato.
Right. Leave the potato. Cook it right, and you don't need extra artificial crisping. It's like Clark Griswold in Christmas Vacation. It's a non-nutritional fry varnish.
That's right.
We don't need that.
Don't ruin the potato. Just learn how to cook it correctly. Now I have to cook it in an air fryer, my fries in an air fryer, because, I try to avoid the oils.
Yeah, I bake mine, and they turn out fine.
Oh, it's good. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
So eat your fries, enjoy your fries, and I guess that's the moral of the story. It's Tuesday, and we live in a hellscape most days, so do what you have to give yourself a little pleasure, right? It's 7:59 right now. You're listening to Civic Media Mornings. My name is Jamie Martinson.
Thank you for listening and being part of the program. I'm Brian Noonan, and we'll talk to you tomorrow on the Civic Media Radio Network.
All right, live stream. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed Fry Talk. I did. We will be back tomorrow. Have a good day.